The title of this video isn't even clickbait. I wish I would have thought of it. But ESPN's own CEO said that ESPN is going full AI. So recently, ESPN's CEO, Jimmy Pitaro, spoke to CNBC, and they talked about a bunch of stuff, but I really only want to focus on two things. One, that next year we're getting a brand new ESPN streaming service, and two, ESPN wants to use AI for Sportscenter. Now, I know what you're thinking. An ESPN app? You mean ESPN Plus? No, this is going to be a completely separate thing, a brand new thing, and we're getting it next year. But we'll get to that a little bit later. First, let's talk about ESPN using AI. So in this interview, Jimmy Pitaro talked about wanting a personalized version of SportsCenter, and this is something that he's been thinking about for years. So he uses the example of being a Giants, Knicks, Rangers, Notre Dame fan, and when you open up your app, the SportsCenter that you get is going to be a personalized version for you based on your favorite teams, and you're going to see those highlights first, and then you're going to see all the big, sports highlights that have happened in the past 24 hours or so. And to be completely clear, this is 100% going to be AI. This isn't some thing that the CEO misspoke about, or he meant this, but he didn't really mean this. I'll have the entire interview linked down below, or specifically a shorter TikTok that I found that has the AI portion of the interview. It'll be linked down below in the comments or description somewhere. I don't want to play it because it might get copyrighted, but the interviewer asks the CEO, so this is going to be AI driven? And Jimmy Pitaro, ESPN CEO, says yes. So there's no, what did he really mean? They're going to be using AI. So the way that everything is wrapped up, the interviewer asks Jimmy, the CEO, so what voice is going to be here? Is this going to be like an artificial intelligence voice, like the voice that we all know from TikTok and stuff like that? Or, what's going to happen? Because if you watch the TV show SportsCenter, obviously you have a human talking about what your eyes are actually seeing. So they go on to talk about that they might use some third-party AI robotic kind of voice, or more interestingly, they might use their own ESPN personalities and just have them sign over their voices, and then that voice will be able to say anything about whatever the personalized feed happens to be. So that got me thinking. Right now all the contract news around ESPN is about Stephen A. Smith, and can you imagine them talking and negotiating with Stephen A. Smith? Hey, can we just own your voice for ever?
Do not attach any association of this to me whatsoever. I have nothing to do with such idiocy.
Okay, so let's dissect this. First, ESPN is already using AI. So this is from an article from Verge back in September. This weekend, ESPN began publishing AI-generated recaps of women's soccer games with more sports to come. It's using Microsoft AI to write each story with humans only involved in reviewing each recap for quality and accuracy. ESPN says these stories will augment rather than detract from its other content. The worst part about all of this is, imagine if you're a reporter who loves, soccer and lacrosse. Lacrosse is the other sport ESPN is testing this out on. And imagine you love those sports and your dream is to work at ESPN, and then the two sports that you love and that you cover are the testing ground for this AI ESPN thing. Like ESPN would never try this with NFL coverage, right? I feel so bad for those reporters. Because there's a special relationship between a person and their favorite sports team's local beat reporter, and it seems like this specifically is going straight after those local beat reporter jobs. And second, as far as a personalized sports center, I know a lot of you have already left a comment saying, so you mean Twitter? Or TikTok? Or YouTube? Things that already exist? And granted, I will give you that one, because a lot of this interview does kind of read like ESPN just discovered that SEO, algorithms, and social media are a thing. So I don't think a personalized version of SportsCenter is really something people want, or really thought about wanting in the first place, but I'm trying to think of what could be on this version. And maybe it's something like what Thursday Night Football does, like, let's say you missed the first quarter and you jump in at the second quarter, you can click on the video or the game on Amazon Prime, and it'll give you a recap of the important plays that you missed. I think YouTube TV does that as well, so maybe this is something the SportsCenter app could do. Listen, I know what you're saying. There's already Twitter and YouTube and TikTok and all this stuff, but hey, ESPN is already doing this. I'm just trying to think of stuff to make it make any sense. And we have to talk about how this affects the TV version of SportsCenter, because you may or may not know, but I did watch ESPN for 24 hours, so I watched a lot of SportsCenter in that time. And the midday Sports Center is bland, boring. It doesn't really serve a purpose. The only Sports Center that serves a purpose is the one at night with Scott Van Pelt, because it's the only Sports Center that's unique. It has like a personality, and it catches you up on basically everything that you missed if you're, not on your phone and stuff. So, because the Sports Center thing, it's like, if breaking news happens in sports, even if the midday Sports Center is on, I'm not going to ESPN. I'm not going to see what Sports Center says about whatever the breaking news story is. I'm going here. I'm going to my phone. So maybe that's what ESPN is thinking as well with this whole ESPN app and AI Sports Center thing. I'm not a big fan of AI just in general. I don't want it, taking away people's jobs and stuff like that, but at least ESPN knows that Sports Center isn't doing well, so they're trying to do something, even if it's something I don't necessarily agree with. And I do think AI in sports is going to become a thing faster than people think. And I honestly think it's going to first come to sports video games. And I know that's like not really, doesn't really deal with ESPN, but hear me out. Because I think those sports video games are going to use AI for the announcers, the commentators or whatever. Because even if you had the best personalities, they can only record so many lines, and they could never, prepare those announcers or say anything for all of the possibilities of what the player can do in any of those games. Like take a video game like Madden, for example. But AI is going to be able to, so no matter what the player does, those AI generated voices will be able to say that to the player, or to stats happening during the season. If like a specific player during your like franchise or whatever goes crazy or is performing really bad, the AI can look at the data in the game and talk about it. And sports video gamers, I don't think they will care. I think they will accept that. Every year, especially a game like Madden is so bad. It's the same thing over and over, but it makes so much money every year. I don't think sports gamers are going to care at all about AI coming to sports games at all. And even more specifically with Madden, if I can go on a tangent here really quick, NFL, please don't renew your license with EA. We need another sports video game out there. I mean, I remember ESPN NFL 2K5. I still think that's the best football game ever created. People are still modding it now, all these years later. It's insane. And NFL, what I don't understand is, why do you have an exclusive license with EA when if you let other companies like 2K make a NFL licensed game, you'll make more money. Like, you'll make the money that Madden makes, and then you'll make more money off the other games. Like, unless I'm missing something here, the NFL likes money, so go make more money. So let's get back to ESPN and talk about this new app that's coming. From this interview, this is a quote. ESPN is working on a, quote, direct-to-consumer streaming service currently nicknamed Flagship, which is scheduled to launch at some point in the fall of 2025. The article goes on to say that Flagship proved to be a reoccurring theme. The ESPN CEO pointed to the ability to integrate ESPN Bet with the yet-to-be-launched streaming service, and it's one of the paths forward for the Sportsbook app, which has largely underwhelmed in its first year on the market. The topic of ESPN's streaming service also came up in regards to regional sports networks. To that end, Pitaro made it clear that the network wants to play a role in the reconstruction of RSNs, with Flagship standing out as an obvious fit. So this regional sports network thing actually, I think, does make sense and could really make this app, because if you're following this regional sports network stuff, specifically what's happening with the Chicago one to watch the Blackhawk games, the Bulls games, and the White Sox games, they're asking customers in 2024 to go out and get an antenna to access this. It's not on cable. There's no direct access, so you can't go to the website and pay X amount a month to watch any of these games. That literally doesn't exist. I think it's on DirecTV. I could be wrong. But there's only two ways to watch those games, for their Bulls games right now, right? You have to get an antenna, or you have to have DirecTV. There's no other way to watch these games. Legally, that is. And these companies wonder why people still sail the high seas in 2024. Because you're actively making it hard for me to not even just find your content and to watch it. You're actively making it hard for me to give you my money. Like, all I have in my head is the Futurama Fry gif, but I can't even do that. You're not even allowing me to pay for your own content. It makes no sense. So, if ESPN can be the place where all of these regional sports networks are in one place, that could make sense. The other thing that just popped into my head is, what if we bring back ESPN Classic? And on this new ESPN app is the only place where you can watch classic games from the NFL or the NBA or baseball or whatever. Because it's always been weird to me that these leagues don't have their own app. Like, why can't I pay the NFL $20 a month to watch every Bears game from 2004. Like, these leagues don't monetize the content that they own. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. And I know some of you are saying, oh, but nobody wants to watch those old games, but I guarantee you, if you had created an NFL app or an NBA app where you can watch every classic game ever, like it's the entire library and history of both of those leagues, people would pay for it. And the other thing that doesn't make sense, even if you pay for like NBA League Pass, you can still have some games blacked out. Like, it's 2024. How are blackouts even a thing? And again, these companies wonder why people, sail the high seas. You're making it hard for me, again, to give you my money to watch your own content. Why are you hiding it behind these archaic, dumb rules? Like, I don't care if it's a TV contract that you signed years ago and now it doesn't make any sense. Figure it out, buy them out, do something. Like, it's just so dumb. It kind of reminds me of when Peacock was launched by NBC, but they didn't have The Office, the thing that everybody wants from NBC, because they had signed like a deal with Netflix, so it took a year for that deal to run out, and then like a year after Peacock was launched, The Office finally made it to Peacock. And my guess is that ESPN or the NFL and the NBA can't do this like app thing that I'm thinking of because of like some dumb archaic rules that they signed on a contract like 20 years ago. I mean, if Sony can own Spider-Man and continuously make a deal with Marvel to put Spider-Man in those movies and everybody gets a piece of the money, as opposed to nobody making any money from the Spider-Man character, yeah, then that makes sense. So ESPN and these sports companies and these TV networks, like, figure it out. Because otherwise, I don't really know what's going to be on this ESPN streaming service. Like, ESPN Classic making a return makes sense. You could do some cool branding like that, and then even do, like, watch-alongs with, like, pick any important game or whatever, and then you can have the players in that game talking about it as they watch along with it, or interviews with the coaches or whatever. You could do a bajillion different ideas you could think of with this idea of bringing back ESPN Classic and having it behind the paywall of this ESPN app, and then maybe doing something with like classic games, because otherwise, like, what's going to be on this app? Like, we already have ESPN-centric specific content on ESPN Plus. So you're just going to make more ESPN shows? Like, that doesn't make any sense. You know what's funny? The company that is actually a pioneer in the streaming sports space is the WWE. And I don't want to get into any conversation about is it a sport or is not a sport. Lock in. We're talking about business here. The WWE had the WWE Network, like, what, in 2013 or 14, maybe even earlier? And that's exactly what I'm talking about as far as the NFL or NBA. You could watch anything that the WWE had ever produced on the network. Like, literally anything from, like, I think it goes back to, like, the 70s and all the way to the present day. And then the WWE was so smart, they were like, we're not going to put all the money into making our own app. We're going to make someone else pay for our content. So right now, Peacock is paying the WWE to use their own content. Like, it's brilliant. Who knew I'd be talking about ESPN so soon after watching it for 24 hours? That's not what this channel was supposed to be about, but I just think it's so interesting looking at what all these companies are trying to do to adapt to, social media and content and all this stuff in, 2024 or 2025. And ESPN is like the first big one that's like, hey, we're fully going in with this AI thing. And again, I'm not a big fan of that, but we do know now based on this interview that ESPN knows what they're doing isn't working, it's not sustainable, and at least they're trying something, even if it's this weird AI Sportscenter idea. So let me know in the comments what you guys think about all of this, the AI Sportscenter, this new app that's coming. Are you even interested in it at all? Please like the video, it really helps me out, really helps the channel out. Please subscribe if you haven't, and thanks for watching.